Welcome to the Big Mike Fun Podcast, where you learn about advanced wealth building strategies from real estate investing to creating massive ROI and secured retirement profits. So pour yourself a cup of coffee, grab a notepad, and lean in. Because Big Mike has got the mic, starting now.
Welcome to the Big Mike Fun Podcast. I'm the Big Mike Zlotnick. Today it is my distinct pleasure and a privilege to welcome Mike Fitzgerald to the show. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Doing fantastic. Great to be on the show, Big Mike.
Thank you. Yeah, Mike Fitzgerald is a close friend, brother from the Collective Genius Mastermind, and my partner in the Dream Fund. So it's certainly great to have you. And he is, now I'm going to use this political term. I hope I'm not going to offend people on the left. But he's a Donald Trump as a real estate investor, not a president. Donald Trump of Hagerstown, Maryland.
That's what people tell me. You know, famously, I was on the paper saying it said local developer on the front page wants to make Hagerstown great again.
Yeah, it's you own I want to say half the town, maybe not half the town, but significant amount of real estate in Hagerstown, Maryland. And I had the pleasure of coming out. Now I know where it is on the map. It's a small town, but it's an important town, and you're not that far from D.C., right? How far is this?
Not that far from D.C. The population of Hagerstown is around 70,000, and we have a ton of urban improvement and development projects going on to the tune of over $100 million over the last couple of years. Actually, since you saw the building, that my notable tenants include the Chamber of Commerce, Century 21 Real Estate, CNB Bank. And since you've been down here, they completed a $40 million project connected to my professional arts building where the Chamber of Commerce is. So, Hagerstown's thriving. It's considered a hub city because of its unique access to highways, railroad tracks, 70, 81. So, I'm very positive on Hagerstown. I have over 300 units here and 100,000 square feet of commercial space.
That's great to hear. Yeah, it is interesting how the proximity to major metropolitan areas revives cities and towns. Too many people just prefer a life of a smaller town. They don't mind commuting as long as they can deal with traffic. They don't mind commuting into a big city.
A lot of people in DC, actually, we have an interesting problem here right now. I recently served on the executive committee for the Economic Development Commission, one of the youngest people ever on it. And when there was a waiting list for 90 people, he invited me on. But to make a long story short, we did a study, and there's over 7,700 more skilled jobs in Washington County than there are people to fill those jobs, including government contractor jobs, most of them, pretty good pay. And with that being said, Washington County has been Maryland's #1 growing county the last 8 years, GDP-wise and job growth-wise.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And what comes down to, it's the cost of living in a big city and a quality of life. And that's why the commute works.
In New York, you're lucky to get a nice apartment for $800. I'm about to buy a castle for $800 because I think it's going to triple in value in the next couple of years.
Yeah, well, in Manhattan for $800,000, I don't know if you can buy a big closet or something, but.
Yeah, it's funny, in DC, you're lucky to get a row for $1 million now, and I'm buying a 9,000 square foot stone castle in Washington.
Yeah, amazing. That is certainly amazing.
I would never move in a house that big. I wanted a condo, but the town 18 miles over, that same house would be $3 million, and I know it's going up, so I figure I'll move in it for a year or two, wait till the value doubles, and then sell it.
It's certainly cool to live in a castle. I don't know how much maintenance and upkeep you got to have. That's one of the considerations.
It's really updated. I call it a castle, but it's a stone house of 18-inch walls. They're really exciting. I started here in a one-bedroom apartment with about $10,000, 16 years ago in March. And if you would have at the time, I thought, if I owned 10 rental units, that would be amazing. I never thought I'd be where I'm at today, but being on point, never short selling anything, never modifying any loans, always being on point with lenders. It's amazing what you can do. So, it's really a dream.
So on that point, what's been the formula to your success in real estate? Is there a secret sauce, some advice, or the number one thing that's been driver of your success?
Taking action, not accepting no, and just doing it. It took me 3 years before I worked with a bank, and I was just in a bank recently, and a woman said, "You remember when you came in 15 years ago? Everybody said I tried to get you a loan." She said, "Everybody said you were too young, but you never amount to nothing." And she broke out laughing because, of course, I'm Washington County Young Professional of the Year. I have major assets here, but I didn't accept no. I just kept moving forward. So I'd say taking action, moving forward, not accepting no for an answer. And now after paying off approximately north of 100 million in debt since I started real estate, I understand deals, and one of my favorite things in life is looking at deals and seeing how they work. And to me, that's why we started the Dream Fund, because it's really you've lent money for years, and me, I borrowed money for years, and it's one of my favorite things looking at deals. So it's nice to be able to look at deals and see the significant downside protection and make money as a fund manager. So now that's in the future, probably what I'll do. Right now, I have an active wholesale company. I rehab very little anymore. I used to rehab north of 50, 60, 70 homes a year. Now we pretty much wholesale, but in the future, I just plan to buy maybe one big asset a year and be a fund manager. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Rehabbing is hard, for sure. I don't want to rehab, and many people today.
I'm glad to lend to a tier 1 rehabber that has 50% equity. But on me, I've rehabbed hundreds and hundreds of homes, and it was time to put that down.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work, and now it's one of those markets where hard to find quality contractors. The prices have gone up for the materials and for the labor, and it's hard to buy right too. So rehab projects take
7% unemployment rate with people being added to the workforce. It's really we've never experienced an economy like this. So normally I would think a recession is coming, but the economy is so strong with more jobs being added than expected. I think we're probably a couple of years out. But as a safety net on the fund, we're lending as if we're going into a recession to a lot of turnkey guys and really safe things.
That's right. That's a key consideration. I mean, on a fund level, fund managers, one of the questions that comes across today is your fund prepared for a downturn if the economy turns? I don't think anybody's worried if the economy will continue to do well, but if there is a recession, then as a fund managers, the question is always to us, how prepared are we to deal with economic downturn? And I'll let you speak on the subject. I certainly think of the downside protection, the deals, obviously being a first lien lender, senior on a capital stack, is one of the most defensive investments.
Well, the strategy is really what's golden here, Mike. I mean, to be in so many real estate masterminds with the best guys in the country, to be looking at the person first, checking the quality of person, it's just a brilliant strategy. And then we're going in, a lot of these guys are using banks, they're using private lenders, but on their, they're opportunistically buying. So, when they're buying a $5 million asset for $2 million, or a $10 million asset for $5 million, the downside protection is just huge. The market can drop 30, 40%, and I still feel very strong. I've invested several $100,000 of my own money in the fund, and that's because I don't think there is stronger downside protection. I mean, in the market, you might go up 15, 20% a couple different years, but I don't think it's as consistent as our funds. We target 10 to 12%. We've slightly surpassed that last year, and I'm very excited about the future. I think our investors are going to keep winning, and super excited.
Yeah, makes sense. Selecting people first is the sort of the key consideration. At least in our business, it's all about relationships. It's not a guarantee to success, but it's certainly a strong indicator to work with the best people who are able to solve problems, take their projects through their life cycle, and get.
I've seen tier one guys in bad markets. I started in '04. I made it through a recession, and I paid all my 12, 15% interest, but it wasn't easy. And you'll find tier one guys, when the market goes down, number one, I feel protected in the deal. And, I hate to say this, but a lot of the deals I'd like to take back. I'd like to own as a real estate investor, but I don't want to. I want them to do well. But, part of me sees it as this great deal. But also, a tier one guy is most likely to pay back the private lenders first and to get through a recession. A lot of the guys we lend to have been through a recession, and they're actually preparing as if they're going into one. So I feel very comfortable. I've been through a recession. I learned a lot of lessons. Mike, I was selling half duplexes in 2005, 6, and 7 for 150, 2 years down from the Salvation Army. 2 years later, those half duplexes were in foreclosure and sold for $30,000 a piece when I sold them for 150. So the market can change. So it's all about where you're lending to. So what we're doing is we're looking at the area. We're looking at, how far it dropped last recession, and really taking significant steps to make sure that our guys are safe and super happy throughout the years.
Yeah. Conservative underwriting, again, starting with a person to going into the assets and then deciding how much money to put there. So
you can recommend an investor. It can recommend a rock star deal, but our underwriters have to go through and approve everything first. It's really nice safety nets.
Makes a lot of sense. So what do you think is coming? I mean, I know it's hard, and I like to crack the joke about the crystal ball. The crystal ball broke a long time ago. I can't find another one for sale. But it would be good to speculate a little bit.
I think we're due for a recession, but I don't think we're going to get one for another 2 years. The reason being, I think they're going to legalize marijuana federally, which is going to uplift the market. And I think we got a very aggressive president. I'd say if Trump stays in office, and he's as aggressive as he's been with interest rates and 16,000 new manufacturers coming. China just lifted 75 billion in tariffs. I'd say, we're probably 1 to 2 years out. But looking at the market and looking at the crystal ball, you think we would have already hit. So we got to lend like we're in a recession now, just to be careful.
Interesting perspective. I don't I don't know how exactly to connect legalizing or marijuana in many states to economic prosperity, but it's certainly interesting observation. But as far as the economic environment, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's Trump card.
So you're saying the Trump card is weed, right? Is that the?
I predict that as soon as the market starts to falter during the election, they legalize it.
Okay, I guess it's going to make people happy at least. Take care of the happiness issue.
Myself, just to disclose, our fund is not in the Dream Fund is not invested in any weed. We're a real estate based fund, but it is an interesting perspective. It's a new world we're living in.
No, that makes sense. Listen, we can invest in a land that can be used for cultivation. I mean, we're not cultivating, but if we do real estate, theoretically speaking, we could invest in the right.
But that's an operator. I like investing in good operators. It's all about who the operator is and, their ability to take action and their track record.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I mean, I think great minds think alike. I think along the same lines. It comes down. It's at Warren Buffett's kind of teachings, the basics of the value investing. Warren Buffett does something in the little reverse direction. He finds which companies to buy for what price, and then puts the right people to run them. I think we find the people, look at their projects, and then decide how much capital to invest. But conceptually, it's a very, very similar enterprise. So let's talk a little bit about Hagerstown. So do you think we have great opportunities to invest from Dream Fund or other in the Hagerstown? Because we've chatted about this in the past.
I think Hagerstown's on its way up. I think a lot of people in Hagerstown got hurt in the last recession because City Center wasn't strong. But now you have a cultural trail, 600 kids with Barbara Ingram School for the Arts, one of the top 2 art schools in Maryland. University of Maryland system downtown, that was 150 kids at the time. Now it's going to 800. 100 student dorms going downtown, over 100 million in projects, and have duplexes and rentals are still about 50% of where they were in '07, unlike most areas. So yeah, I do think there's about to be a significant uptick.
And I remember when I was there, we were driving around and you were pointing number of buildings and interesting opportunities. And I think we need to continue the discussion because sounds to me it's a very vibrant town. I mean, it's your home sweet home, and kind of every street, where the opportunity is, and that's important. It's important to see the economic trends and know where the hidden gems are.
It's definitely, when I was, it's going to sound bad because some people say I look pretty young, but when I was younger, I just buy buildings anywhere. Now I pick and choose, and I really pick the gems out. And like I said, eventually I'm gearing towards being a full-time fund manager and just doing big projects. But right now, knowing we're probably in for 100% gain. I've had the highest selling condos in Frederick, Maryland since 2014. The interesting thing about that is Frederick, Maryland's been named the top small city in the nation 3 of the last 10 years. I sold 2-bedroom condos for $730,000, one for $630,000. I've had the highest selling condos in 2 boutique projects since 14. The reason I'm saying this is because a half duplex fixed up in their city center goes for $700,000 plus.
Plus location, right?
A half duplex is $80,000. So I mean, it's only 18 minutes away. And arguably, Hagerstown in the past was a hub city. So Warner Brothers is in 4 locations, and Frederick was just a small farming community. I have a good read on the market, and I'd say we're in for a good uptick. We have a lot of jobs right now. We have the county and city working together. We're about to build a $40 million stadium. We have $100 million in projects. It's very exciting. And speaking of that, Mike, there might be a chance. I'm working on getting a 95-unit deal downtown to completely turn into high-end condos. I wouldn't invest with the Dream Fund because I don't want to invest in my own deal. But with your other fund, the Temple Opportunity Fund, I'm looking to put together a state, federal, and city partnership. So I'm looking for the state and feds to put up $1 million apiece, and the city to put up $250,000. And I'm looking to do a pretty cool deal downtown if I can make it work.
Yeah, well, people, you could do it because you have great relationship with the mayor, with the governor. You've been recognized, I think, by both of them. And
I've got $800,000 in the last 4 years. State, city, and feds have given me $800,000 for my projects.
Yeah, I would love to hear about this project when you actually get it.
That I don't have to pay back, which I think is pretty credible because, it's very hard to get the federal government and state to commit to a project. They do it because I'm a proven developer and I have a proven reputation. For them to write checks to me, because I don't have to pay the money back. I don't pay the money back. I literally got $250,000 check. They wrote me 800,000 checks based on my credibility, and also, that's why I have a credibility website, which we can put on the podcast. But I have Senate recognition, congressional recognition, 2 governor and state of Maryland thanking me for doing business in the state. I've been sworn in the city to make code changes. So I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this because hard work will get you anywhere if you believe in yourself and you stick with it.
And that's a great advice, for sure. I think your perseverance and your action taking and your drive has been certainly recipe of your success. What is the credibility website? Where would people go if they wanted to see who's Mike Fitzgerald? Is there a good credibility site?
Absolutely. I got a great credibility site. What I'll do, Mike, is it's www.michaeltfitzgerald.com, and it's password protected. The password's ABC. And I'll get that to you in writing so you can see it and put it on the podcast.
So it's www.michaeltfitzgerald.com.
Yes.
And the password is ABC, lowercase?
Correct. The reason this website came about is because I was with former 3-time Congressman, presidential candidate, John Delaney. And John said, Mike, you have so much credibility. At your age, people are going to look at you and say, he's full of shit. There's no way this guy has all this credibility. So come up with a credibility website. That way they see it so they know it's real. Because that was really his idea. So I got that advice from presidential candidate. That's why I have the website.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So we're back in the presidential cycle. He was in the previous presidential cycle, right?
No, this one.
Oh, this one. He was in this
Yeah, he
presidential.
just dropped out of the race in Iowa. He is the most conservative, middle of the road Democrat, and he was the most middle of the road Democrat in the House, one of the two most middle of the road. I don't really, although I vote a lot of times Republicans, I don't always vote party lines. I vote on who I believe in. And
That's actually a great point. The person matters, especially if they are sufficiently independent and they have great individual thinking. But what's really amazing, I mean this in a bizarre way, it still boggles my mind that today extreme candidates seem to dominate the environment. So Trump is sort of heavily on the right side, and Bernie Sanders, who's leading the Democratic pack, is heavily on the left. And John Delaney, who was right down the middle, you just can't get through the primary if you're
Democrat caucus because he said stuff that made sense. The guy makes so much sense; it's incredible. I'm a Trump fan, but Delaney would have been great too. I mean, he's a really smart businessman. He started out with nothing and built a company to 400 million, sold it for 400 million, and then sold a company for 800 million. The guy's really is one of the most brilliant people I've had the pleasure of sitting down talking with in meeting.
Yeah, it's a difficult time now for middle of the road people. They don't seem to appeal to the extreme, and extreme on both sides seem to be dominating each party. And
I think vote for who you believe in. Vote for who you think is going to do the right thing.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway,
we violated the rule, Mike. You're never supposed to talk politics on podcasts.
Yeah, well, by the time it airs, hopefully, I mean, this is going to be old news at this point because it does take a little bit of time for the podcast to come out, and we're not, I'm right down the middle, and I wish there were candidates that are very sort of middle of the road folks, but
they're a rare breed nowadays.
That's right. So, any other feedback, advice for real estate entrepreneurs, investors? I certainly love your thoughts on your own success and the action-taking attitude and persevering and not being worried about the no or any kind of rejection. So any other thoughts to investors or entrepreneurs?
I have one piece of advice, I called a rep to Owen out in the newspaper, and he told me I sounded like I'd make a better real estate investor than Ringo in his house. Told me about the real estate clubs in DC and Baltimore. 3 months in, I had my first deal. And it's been a fun road. I've done extremely well. But one thought that I try to keep on the forefront of my mind when I write, it's not about what makes you happy for a minute. It's about what keeps you fulfilled for a lifetime. So take a lot of action and think about what's important to you. And just do it, and things will happen. You'll be successful, and I believe in you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's a great wisdom. It's what makes you happy for the lifetime, not the short. So have a long-term perspective rather than a short-term view.
It's the struggle with every human on earth, because humans are automatically pulled towards what makes them happy for the minute, and they don't really think about what keeps them fulfilled for the lifetime. And it's even a struggle with me. So I have it written down, and I look at that quote every day. And as far as I'm concerned, I made the quote up because I didn't look it up anywhere. It's just something I came up with actually one day on the phone with you, and now I've been being a little bit religious about reading it every day. I got it on my mirror at home, so I see it every morning. I brush my teeth.
Yeah, that's interesting perspective. Mike, if we're out of time, any other thoughts? Final, if folks wanted to get a hold of you, reach out with any questions. Obviously for Dream Fund, it's dreamfundinvestments.com. But any other websites, your personal credibility website, is there another way to get a hold of you?
Call me in my office, specifically mention Dream Fund, 301-960-4881, 301-960-4881. The reason I'm having call in my office because then they'll structure a nice call and it'll be organized.
Sounds great. Mike, I very much appreciate your time and your wisdom. Thank you kindly for coming on the podcast.
It's always a pleasure, Big Mike. You're a good man. I love you and your family, and looking forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you for listening to the Big Mike Fund Podcast. To receive your copy of Mike's How to Choose a Smart Real Estate Fund book, head to BigMikeFund.com or visit Amazon and type Mike Zlotnick. Keep listening and keep investing Big Mike style. See you on the next episode.